Now, ties between Canada and India have hit rock bottom in an escalating row over the murder of a Sikh separatist leader. Hardeep Singh Nijjar, an Indian-born Canadian citizen, was shot outside the Sikh temple that he led in British Columbia last year. Canada says Indian government agents were involved. Delhi has dismissed the allegations, but now both countries have expelled each other's top diplomats.
Canada's top diplomat in Delhi was summoned to India's foreign ministry, where he was told he and 5 of his colleagues had to leave the country. It's the latest tit-for-tat twist in a murder mystery that has put the two countries at odds for over a year.
Canada has provided credible, irrefutable evidence of ties between agents of the government of India and a murder of a Canadian citizen on Canadian soil.
A killing outside this temple in suburban Vancouver last year set the drama in motion. Hardeep Singh Nijjar, a leader in the local chapter of a Sikh separatist movement, was shot in his pickup truck. The killing shook Canada's large Sikh population, sparking protests at Indian consulates. Canadian police charged 3 Indian men with the killing in May of this year, but said they believed India's government had planned it. India denied the allegations in a tweet, and each side expelled a diplomat from the other. India also froze its consular services to Canada for 2 months. Now, Canada says it has proof of an Indian plot to interfere with its citizens, and that India's High Commissioner to Canada is implicated in Nijjar's death.
As the RCMP Commissioner stated earlier, they have clear and compelling evidence that agents of the Government of India have engaged in and continue to engage in activities that pose a significant threat to public safety. This includes clandestine information gathering techniques, coercive behavior targeting South Asian Canadians, and involvement in over a dozen threatening and violent acts, including murder.
Once again, India has denied the allegations, calling them preposterous, and accused Trudeau of providing space to violent extremists.
Let's cross to India now and speak with Ajai, Sahni, the director of the Institute for Conflict Management in Delhi. Welcome to DW. Can I ask you, do you see the accusations made by Canada, by its Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, as credible?
Differently, I'd say this is a legitimate line of inquiry among many others. However, what is being done over here is the continuous and strident interference of the Prime Minister in an ongoing investigation. I don't think this is really completely unprecedented. I have never seen something of this nature, where a Prime Minister, without offering any kind of tangible evidence, goes onto public platforms, goes into his own parliament, makes statements, makes assertions that have been denied by his own parliamentary colleagues from other parties, who have said that no evidence was shared with them either. India has also denied evidence. Now, standing on the outside of this discourse, one can simply say that unless some kind of credible evidence is put into the public domain, I'm afraid we cannot accept what Trudeau is saying as anything more than political lecturing for his own domestic compulsions.
OK. India has denied the allegations. They've called them a part of Justin Trudeau's political agenda. So if I could ask you to clarify for our viewers, from Delhi's point of view, what is Canada's or Trudeau's political agenda?
You see, first of all, he has a minority government. Very recently, one of his supporting parties, led by a Sikh, you could say extremist again, Jasmeet Singh, withdrew support. He is currently in a position which is extremely weak and has for a long time depended upon an extremistic vote to shore up his position. And I think he continues to seek to harness that vote bank to his survival.
Can you give us a bit of background, explain to our viewers what the Khalistan movement is, and in particular why India is so worried about it?
Well, I don't think India is so worried about the movement as such. There is very little evidence of the movement having any surviving strength on Indian soil. It has essentially now a presence in the diaspora community. This was a movement that started in the late 1970s. And between, you could say, 1978, 79, and 1993, when the movement was comprehensively defeated on Indian soil, it resulted in the death of more than 21,000 people. It was till at that point of time among the bloodiest movements. Of course, that's been overtaken by other conflicts in the country, particularly the Maoist and the Kashmiri. But it was till the time the bloodiest conflict that India had experienced. It was a conflict that was supported by the neighboring state, Pakistan. It was a conflict in a border district, which is again something that a country takes very seriously. So India would be concerned about any movements to destabilize Punjab again. And there have been very sustained movements supported both by Pakistan and by several other countries implicitly or explicitly to allow the diaspora widening spaces for activities that go well beyond legitimate, constitutionally protected activities to try to create some kind of disturbances in Punjab.
Ajai Sahni, Director of the Institute for Conflict Management in Delhi. Mr. Sahni, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Let's get more from Dyer, who is a journalist with Canada's public broadcaster, CBC. Welcome to DW, Evan. What is the credible, irrefutable evidence of ties between agents of the government of India and the murder of a Canadian citizen on Canadian soil that we heard the High Commissioner mention in our report?
Well, we know that a lot of it consists of electronic intercepts, and some of these involve communications between people in New Delhi, inside in places like RAW, the Indian Intelligence Service. They involve other people in India's embassy and consulates in Canada. And they even include video link meetings, sort of Zoom type meetings, we understand, where Indian officials in New Delhi can be seen talking to people here, giving instructions, coordinating this clandestine operation of the government of India. Everybody who has seen this evidence has described it as a compelling, we heard that term used, really kind of a slam dunk case that both the United States and Canada have against India in this matter. And we would assume that quite a bit of this intelligence was actually collected by the United States, by the NSA and the FBI, as agencies that have greater electronic capabilities than Canada, and who shared that information with Canada. But there's also been an extensive criminal investigation here by the RCMP, the Mounties, that has backed that up. It's a very, very compelling case. And that evidence has been presented to India, although India continues to say in public that it hasn't seen it.
And just to be clear, this is all intelligence gathered secret. Has it been, I'm presuming it hasn't been made public, but has been shared with the various agencies?
It's been shared with the government of India. It was most recently repeatedly, it was shared a number of times, but there was a meeting in Singapore a short while before this latest rupture between 3 Canadian officials and some Indian officials, where they again laid out the whole case. And they said, look, basically they said, guys, we've got you cold. Okay. So we have to you can't just bluster your way out of this. But it's also been shared by Canada, the United States, with their Five Eyes allies and other Western countries. And every country that has seen it has supported Canada.
India accuses Justin Trudeau, Canada's Prime Minister, of having a political agenda. What are they saying this agenda is?
They accuse Justin Trudeau of trying to play what they call vote bank politics, basically of trying to curry popularity with Canada's Sikh community. You know, Canada has a very large Sikh community, about 750,000 people, and that's a result of the pogrom against Sikhs following the assassination of Indira Gandhi in 1984. Many, many people came here. Some of them were clearly radicalized by that pogrom. Some of them engaged in acts of terrorism against India, most notoriously the Air India bombing in 1985. That kind of violent activity subsided fairly quickly. What really seems to be annoying India right now is more peaceful political activity, which is basically an attempt to organize a worldwide referendum in various communities in the Sikh diaspora on having a separate Sikh state called Khalistan in Punjab, in India. That effort has led to this campaign by India, it appears. But India constantly talks about how Canada refuses to extradite people, doesn't crack down on hate speech or violent speech in the Sikh community in Canada. It's been a festering wound between the two countries for some time.
Interestingly, there was a comparable incident involving an attempted assassination in the US not long ago. Delhi responded to that allegation by offering to investigate. Why is the tone towards Canada so different?
Because Canada is not a superpower. I mean, it's really as simple as that. That case actually, they targeted a man called Gurpatwan Singh Pannan, who is the organizer of that referendum effort that I was just talking about. He's a joint US-Canadian citizen. There was an extensive FBI investigation of that case. Actually, it began with the DEA because a drug trafficker in that case, India is accused of using criminal elements, right, to conduct these operations of assassination, intimidation, and so on. And in the US case, it was a drug trafficker called Nikhil Gupta who was accused. And basically, the evidence is very similar. The allegation is very similar. It's part of the same clandestine operation. But Canada is just a middle power, whereas the United States, when it raises these concerns, is a nuclear superpower with a permanent seat on the UN Security Council. And so what we've seen basically is that India has continued to sort of just bluster and say, we know nothing about this, we haven't done it, with the Canadian case. And with the very intimately related case in the United States, they've made a different claim, which is that it's rogue agents. This is because they can't deny the evidence in the case, which clearly shows the involvement of Indian government officials. So rather like the way Saudi Arabia reacted to the Jamal Khashoggi killing, where Turkey also had very clear evidence that Jamal Khashoggi died in the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, and that his body was dismembered there, Saudi Arabia couldn't claim that hadn't happened. So it said it was a rogue operation. And this is the approach that they've taken with the United States. And actually, the United States insisted that they set up a commission of inquiry, which is in Washington today. And just a couple of days ago, they arrested the former head of their intelligence agency, Vikram Yadav, who appears to be the sort of the designated fall guy.
Thanks for that, Evan. Evan Dyer from Canadian broadcaster CBC.
My pleasure.